In New Zealand, local media reporting a hotel quarantine worker in Auckland has tested positive to COVID-19. It's understood the worker is asymptomatic and is currently isolating at home. Well, earlier today, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern announced plans for a new trans-Tasman bubble. Senior lecturer in tourism management at the University of South Australia, Dr. Freya Desbiolles, joins me now from Adelaide. Now, Freya, how could this reported new case possibly delay the trans-Tasman travel bubble, do you think?
Well, it's a worry because Jacinda Ardern has been conservative and risk averse in New Zealand, and we've had some disturbances to the planned travel bubble previously with New South Wales having problems. So it could go both ways. It does present difficulties, and it really shows how governments need to be sure to reassure their publics and to have confidence of people. And we will have to sustain an element of risk in our decisions.
Well, already New Zealand's delayed announcing the date on when the trans-Tasman bubble can be announced. There really are a lot of considerations before this goes ahead.
Yes, there's a lot of complications. It's very difficult balancing the public health needs because we're in a global pandemic and the politics of the thing and economics, and industry is really very anxious to get things moving again. And then we've got a lot of moving pieces to this puzzle to get travel and tourism back up and operational. Qantas today has said that they would require vaccines for international travel. I'm not sure if that applies to New Zealand, but we also know that the vaccine rollout both here and New Zealand is taking time. The people who are getting the vaccines are the ones in the older categories and that are at health risk. So they're probably the ones less ready to travel. It's the younger people that I think that are feeling quite pent up by frustrations of being tied down in lockdown. So those all add to the complications of this happening. But then the travel industry needs to get moving because we can't keep going this way, and the industry, the airlines are suffering.
Well, Australia's border has been mostly open to New Zealand travellers since October, but not the other way around. Has this been the right decision by New Zealand, in your view?
Well, I think that the politics really matter, and New Zealand is a smaller country and a very tight-knit country, and they've been more risk-averse perhaps than we have, and they don't have the politics that we have with the federal system, the Commonwealth system that we have here. So I think that she's made the right call for New Zealand, that the people support her in these choices, and you're not seeing tension around that. So New Zealand is treading very cautiously on this. And I guess as we're coming to the end, that we can foresee the end of the crisis, that you don't want to have unnecessary public health risk when we're so close to getting the vaccines and getting our communities ready. So we have the luxury of time here.
Well, New Zealand is coming under pressure, though, to reopen its tourism sector. Just how helpful will the travel bubble be in boosting the industry there?
Well, I think New Zealand's economy is about 20% dependent upon tourism. So it's very significant for the country, and it goes the width and breadth in the north and south of the country. So it really does matter. And international tourism is extremely important. Of course, domestic tourism has taken off in Australia, and we've tried to fill in the gaps that way. But international travel is very important.
How much travel did we see between the two countries, and which destinations do you see picking up first again?
Well, it will be the major cities that will pick up. I think New Zealanders, when they come to Australia, are often to the major cities like Brisbane and Sydney and Melbourne. But the other thing is we're family. So often what we're doing is we're visiting friends and relatives when we go to each other's country. There's a lot of connections and kin. And we're dependent upon each other. The input financially into our economies is significant. I think in 2019, it was $62 billion that Kiwis spent in our economy. So it does matter. But it matters socially as well. These connections are very important socially.
Indeed. Just finally, how do you think travel habits have changed since coronavirus hit, and how might this impact the tourism industry?
Well, I'm a proponent of sustainable tourism, so I have an opinion that I'd like to see us become more sustainably and responsibly minded. I'm not sure that that will happen, but I'll do my best to advocate for it. I know that in Scotland, they were the first tourism board to join Climate Declares an Emergency, and tourism joined that on the climate change emergency that we're facing. So I hope that our consumption habits will change so that we become more thoughtful and discerning in our choices, and that when we stay in places, when we travel long distances, that we stay longer and that we make sure we spend our money so that it really goes into the local economy and benefits local people and local communities.
I do agree that that's a trend we're seeing now that we're in the midst of the pandemic. Dr. Freya Higgins Desbiolles, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.